The morning was alive with excitement, the kind that only a wedding day could bring. Jason stood by the mirror adjusting his tie with shaky hands. It was supposed to be the happiest day of his life, the culmination of years of love and devotion. His bride-to-be, Emily, was already bustling around in her own suite preparing for their union. The air carried a blend of nervous energy and pure joy. But amid all the celebration, Jason noticed an unusual tension in his dog, Max. Before we start, smash the like and subscribe buttons for more updates. Max was no ordinary pet. He had been Jason's companion through thick and thin, the silent witness to his heartbreaks, triumphs, and late-night musings. A loyal golden retriever with warm, intelligent eyes, Max had an uncanny ability to sense when something was amiss. Jason had raised him from a pup, and over the years they had forged a bond that went deeper than mere companionship. This was why Jason couldn't ignore Max's odd behavior that morning. Max paced the room restlessly, letting out soft whines. Normally he was calm and collected, the epitome of a well-trained dog, but today he was different. Jason figured the commotion of the wedding preparations had unsettled him. He gave Max a reassuring pat and left the room to join his groomsmen. The ceremony began with all the splendor they had dreamed of. Rows of guests lined the pews of the chapel, their faces lit with anticipation. The floral arrangements, meticulously chosen by Emily, adorned every corner, filling the air with the scent of roses and lilacs. Jason stood at the altar, his heart pounding as the organ began to play. The doors at the far end of the aisle opened, and there she was, Emily, radiant in her gown, glowing like a dream. As Emily began her slow, graceful walk down the aisle, something unexpected happened. Out of nowhere, Max bounded into the chapel. Gasps rippled through the crowd as he darted past the rows of guests and positioned himself directly in Emily's path. For a moment, time seemed to freeze. Max stood firm, his tail still, his eyes locked on Emily. Jason was mortified. He called Max's name, his voice echoing through the silent room, but Max didn't budge. He growled low, an unusual sound from a dog known for his gentle nature. Emily stopped in her tracks, her face a mix of confusion and slight fear. The crowd murmured, unsure of what to make of the scene. "Max, come here!" Jason commanded, his voice firmer now. But Max remained where he was, his body tense and unyielding. He was guarding the path as if his life depended on it. Emily tried to step around him, but Max moved to block her again. His growls grew louder, his stance more aggressive. It was clear he wasn't playing a game or seeking attention. He was trying to tell them something, but what? Jason hurried down the aisle, his heart pounding. He knelt beside Max, placing a hand on his fur. "What's wrong, buddy?" he whispered. Max whimpered, nudging Jason's hand toward Emily. His actions were deliberate, purposeful. Jason looked up at Emily, then back at Max, a sinking feeling growing in his chest. Emily, visibly shaken, spoke softly. "Jason, maybe we should get him outside and—" Her words were cut off by Max barking sharply. The sound reverberated through the chapel, startling everyone. Jason had never seen him act like this, not once in all the years they had been together. His confusion deepened, but he knew one thing for certain. Max wasn't behaving this way without reason. The tension in the room was palpable as Jason gently led Max out of the chapel. Emily and the guests waited, the mood now heavy with uncertainty. Outside, Jason crouched beside Max, looking him in the eye. "What is it, boy? What's wrong?" he asked again. Max whimpered, then turned his head toward the chapel as if urging Jason to follow him back. It was as though he was trying to communicate something urgent, something Jason couldn't yet understand. Torn between frustration and worry, Jason decided to trust his dog's instincts. He turned back toward the chapel, his heart heavy with foreboding. When Jason returned, the ceremony resumed. But the magic of the moment had dimmed. Emily completed her walk down the aisle, her steps more hesitant than before. As they exchanged vows, Jason couldn't shake the unease Max's actions had stirred in him. The moment felt tainted, overshadowed by a question that now loomed large in his mind. What had Max been trying to tell him? The reception was a grand affair, but Jason found it hard to fully immerse himself in the celebration. Max's behavior haunted him, an unsolved puzzle that refused to leave his thoughts. Max stayed close to Jason throughout the evening, his usual playful demeanor replaced by quiet vigilance. Emily seemed distracted too, her smiles not quite reaching her eyes. As the night wore on, Jason decided to investigate. He wanted to understand why Max had acted so strangely. The answer, he soon discovered, would shake him to his core. The next day, Jason began piecing things together. He thought about Max's behavior leading up to the wedding, the restlessness, the whining, the growling. He also remembered the way Max had nudged him toward Emily, as if trying to warn him. His instincts told him there was more to this than met the eye. Jason started asking questions, first casually, and then with more intent. He spoke to Emily's friends, her family, anyone who might provide insight. It was during one such conversation with one of Emily's former colleagues that he stumbled upon something that stopped him cold. The colleague, unaware of the wedding, casually mentioned something about Emily's past that Jason had never known. She spoke of a previous relationship Emily had been in, one that ended under troubling circumstances. It wasn't the fact of the relationship itself that alarmed Jason, it was the way it had ended. The colleague hinted at dishonesty, manipulation, and a tendency to conceal the truth when it suited her. Jason's mind raced. Could Max have sensed something about Emily? Something Jason had been blind to? He began to see the moments in their relationship that had once seemed inconsequential in a new light. The times Emily had deflected questions about her past, the occasional inconsistencies in her stories, they all took on a darker significance. Driven by a need to understand, Jason confronted Emily. He told her about Max's behavior and the doubts it had sparked in him. At first, Emily was defensive, her voice rising as she denied any wrongdoing. But under Jason's persistent questioning, her defenses began to crumble. Jason's world tilted. He looked at Max, lying faithfully by his side, and felt a wave of gratitude. His dog had seen what he couldn't, had sensed something deeper than Jason's own perception could grasp. Max hadn't been trying to ruin the wedding, he had been trying to protect Jason. The days that followed were filled with soul-searching. Jason had to decide whether he could move forward with Emily, knowing what he now knew. Their love had been built on trust, and that foundation now felt shaky at best. Emily, for her part, was remorseful and willing to work to regain Jason's trust. But Jason couldn't ignore the voice in his head, or the instincts of the dog who had never let him down. Life after the wedding that wasn't easy, but it was honest. Jason leaned on Max more than ever, finding solace in the unwavering loyalty of his four-legged friend. He realized that Max's actions that day had been an act of pure love, a testament to the unbreakable bond they shared. In time, Jason found peace. He learned to trust his instincts, to listen to the quiet warnings that life sometimes offers. And though his heart still carried the scars of that fateful day, he was grateful for Max, for the truth, and for the chance to start anew. In the months that followed, Jason found himself reflecting on the entire experience with a sense of bittersweet clarity. It wasn't just the wedding that had been a turning point in his life. It was everything that had happened afterward. The decision to call off the marriage was difficult, but it had ultimately been necessary for his peace of mind. Emily had tried to reach out multiple times, pleading for another chance. But Jason knew deep down that the trust between them had been irreparably broken. What struck him most during this time was the unwavering loyalty Max had shown. Max, though a dog, had displayed a wisdom beyond anything Jason could have expected. It was as if his bond with Jason transcended words. Dogs are often celebrated for their loyalty, but Max's behavior had proven that sometimes they can sense things about their humans that go unnoticed by those around them. Jason couldn't help but marvel at the fact that Max, despite being a dog, had acted as a guardian that day, even though he had no understanding of the complexities of human relationships. His instincts, fueled by love and protection, had been enough to steer Jason away from a path that might have led to more heartbreak. As the weeks passed, Jason began to heal. He found solace in the small moments with Max, morning walks through the park, quiet nights at home, and the simple comfort of knowing he wasn't alone. It was a humbling experience to learn that his dog, often considered a simple companion, had been more in tune with the emotional landscape of Jason's life than he could have ever imagined. Eventually, Jason met someone new. Her name was Claire, and she was different in ways that made Jason smile again. She wasn't perfect, but she didn't hide parts of herself behind layers of secrecy. She had her flaws, her own set of challenges, but she was transparent and kind, qualities that Jason valued far more than anything he had previously looked for. Their connection grew steadily, and for the first time in a long while, Jason felt the hope of something real. If you liked this video, Please give it a like and subscribe to our channel. Also, leave your comments below and tell us, what are your thoughts on the dog's actions during the wedding day? We want to hear from you. Thank you for watching, and see you next time.